Hello, everyone. I'm Jasmine Linton. I'm a TICO licensed travel agent based in Toronto, Canada. I'm a co-lead with the Toronto Travel Massive chapter, and I've been a member for over 10 years. I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining us for today's webinar, How to Make the Most of Your FAM or Press Trip. At Travel Massive, we're known to support members by anchoring networking and educational opportunities throughout the year. And for this one, we thought we would take it back to the beginning in terms of what to expect when you're seeking or what is expected of you when you are invited to a FAM trip. We also thought we would open this up to Travel Massive Global and not just keep it to a discussion in Toronto, because this is an important topic for everyone in the travel industry. Now, we know there's many different variations and meanings of FAMs or press trips or even hosted experiences. So for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to speak to the media side of the industry, as most of our members are represented by that group. So let's first warm up the chat. And can everyone tell us where you are watching this from? So you're going to use the comment section to the right. And also you can add if you've ever been on a FAM or a press trip, and if so, where did you go? While you add to the chat, I'd like to share a few housekeeping items. First, just the duration. So this webinar will last for about an hour, including a Q&A session at the end. We do have a contest that's going to be tied into this. So we have a wonderful event coming up on October 18th at the John Sleeman and Sons Distillery in Guelph. So this press trip will include a tour of the distillery. There'll be tasting and participation at a part of a public event. So as a special treat, we have one spot on this trip to give away to a Toronto-based person that is attending this webinar. So please check out the link in the comments as we'll be providing information there. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please use the comments feature again on the right side, and we'll try to get to as many of you as we can during the dedicated Q&A session time at the end of our discussion. Also, as a heads up, this is being recorded. It will be available on the travelmassive.com platform. And feel free to share your thoughts about today's webinar on social media using the hashtag TravelMassive. So we're excited to have this wonderful panel of industry experts with us who will be sharing their insights and experiences with these exact types of trips. So whether you're a seasoned travel professional or new to the field, there will be something here for everyone. So as I mentioned, I'm Jasmine Linton. I'm a longtime Travel Massive member and travel agent based here in Toronto. Katerina Topol is the Toronto chapter lead and is moderating our chat today. Katerina is a Toronto-based travel photographer, writer, and content creator. Her stories appear on pathstotravel.com and in a range of print and digital publications in Canada and abroad. She is also the founder of North American music magazine, quipmag.com. Now, our panelists. So representing influencers, we have Yashi Murphy. She's the founder of parentingtogo.ca. Yashi is also a 10+ year Travel Massive member, is a brand marketing pro who refused to let go of her pre-baby lifestyle. She's been a successful content creator for over a decade and can be heard on radio, seen on TV, and her written work can be found on her blog, parentingtogo.ca, Lonely Planet, Destination Toronto, and more. Yeah, she's also a Destination Toronto ambassador. She's on the TICO Advisory Council and on the TMAC National Board. From the hotel's perspective, we have Tanya Mora and Matt Black, who are with us representing sales and marketing at Toronto's gorgeous Toronto X Hotel. With a background in shaping some of the best events in Toronto, Tanya hosts influencers on a regular basis at Toronto's Hotel X. She is joined by Matt Black, who has a deep understanding of hospitality trends and guest experiences. Matt has played a pivotal role in positioning Hotel X as one of Toronto's leading luxury destinations. Known for a strategic insight and partnerships-driven approach, and actively engages with the travel community to drive impactful content. From the destinations point of view, we have Indira Tachandra from the Jamaica Tourist Board. Indira is a seasoned communications professional spanning nonprofit, news media, tourism, and social justice arenas. The news has always informed everything she's done throughout her career, whether on camera, behind the camera, through public relations, or writing material reports. She joins us as a representative of Jamaica and serves media across the Canadian market. And last, the representative of the public relations side of things is we have Gabriela Ribeiro from True Marketing. Gabriela is is an over 7-year Travel Massive member out of our New York City chapter, is a dynamic leader in the travel industry. She runs True Marketing, a boutique sales and marketing firm that represents tourist boards and hotel partners worldwide, offering innovative solutions to expand their reach. Gabriela also heads up Explorateur Journeys, curating immersive travel experiences for global curious travelers, and oversees the Explorateur, which is an e-newsletter and online magazine delivering insider tips and exclusive deals. So we have a stacked panel. So as a reminder again, please, we encourage you to use the comments section to just, anytime you have a question or a thought that comes up, use it and we'll address it towards the end. So we're going to get into our first question. So familiarization trips, FAMs, can you explain their significance and why they are important or significant to what it is that you do? Yashi, we'll start with you.
Hi. Yes, so I think with press trips, the main thing is that it gives us firsthand experiences that we get to share, especially with what I do. It's all based on lived experiences, and it gives us behind the scenes access to places that we can tell our audience about and encourage them to learn about a new destination. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Indira, how do FAMs affect your work?
FAMs are a really important part as a destination, and for particularly the Jamaica Tourist Board. We often host FAMs and press trips. I know we're talking about the press trip side. So I've hosted FAMs before. I arrange for media influencers, writers, journalists to go to the destination for any kind of event that we're having, anything special. But we always want to match up the media choice to what it is that we're trying to promote at that particular moment in time. So whether that's a culinary festival or it's something meant for the diaspora, we will choose our media accordingly.
Wonderful. And Matt or Tanya?
Yeah, so for us, the FAM is primarily to introduce our hotel and our brand to a wider audience. It's usually a bit of a sales tool or an extension of the sales team, and we want to bring the attendees we want to bring them in and make sure that they've got a really good understanding of what it is that we have to offer here at Hotel X.
Wonderful. Gabriela?
Sure. So we do them similar to Indira. We do them on the press side and the trade side, but just addressing the press for the destinations and the locations and the DMCs and the hotels that we represent. My job and everybody's job on our side is to make sure that somebody understands the soul of a place. So they can only really do that if they've experienced it and then communicate it efficiently as such. So I think, we can write about things, we can send videos from our perspective, we can send photos, but it never quite gives you the feeling. So for us, it's important not only to have them feel the emotions, but also to build a relationship as well that's more long-term with the person who's visiting, and hopefully will write and will produce and maybe will want to come again. So it's a relationship building tool as well as a communicative channel.
Yeah, nothing beats in person, right? So Yashi, maybe you could tell us a bit about your first FAM trip as an influencer and how did it come about?
Okay, I had to dig real deep to figure this one out. It was in 2013, and I did a couple different trips. And I know press trips can look very different for different people. So there was two that stand out. One was international, which was with Tourism Ireland, and I was already going there. So, and I think I met the tourism rep at a Travel Massive event, to be honest. And we started a conversation and talked about hosting when I was in destination. And then the fully everything from start to finish covered was, I believe, Tourism Ottawa, where they, whisked my family away and gave us the experiences that would be fit for, at the time, baby travel. And those were my two first ones.
Amazing. So certain like different tools are used in order to get these opportunities. So if we kind of whisk in the idea of the traditional media kit, again, Yashi, when did you build yours, and like what would you say are like essential key things that you make sure to keep updated in yours?
I had one from get go. So I started my website in 2011. It was a passion project, but I came from a brand marketing background working with big brands. So I was already pitched to by, at the time, people who were starting their blogs, which was the early days, especially in Canada. So I had a media kit from the start. And to this day, it's pretty much a similar format. It talks about who I am, some stats, who my audience is, what I focus on, and what else does it say? I have a separate rate card. So my media kit is separate from what I charge when I work on paid projects. And mostly, I believe, yeah, it's who I am and what I focus on and who my audience is.
All right. So for the rest of the panelists, so on the industry side, do you expect to see media kits as well as still that kind of traditional piece, or are there other tools that you're looking for? Maybe Matt and Tanya?
Yeah, absolutely. We do expect to see media kits. I expect to see sort of past articles, coverage, style, examples of some content creation. For content creators, there's such a varying degree of experience and frankly professionalism. So within the space, so getting a sense as to how they conduct themselves, how they represent the brand, the quality of the content produced is a major factor as to, whether or not we want to work with them. So,
right. So professionalism, that's a really good piece I would definitely highlight. Especially if you're starting out, it's hard if you're kind of lacking the content, but I think the way that you present yourself has a really lends to that. So, Gabriella, can you maybe add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll take the other line, like what not to do.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I get a ton of these emails like a week. Always think about it from the perspective of this is a collaboration. So let's have a conversation. Maybe don't email me if you have 500 people who visit your blog and ask for or demand 3 business class tickets and a week-long stay. Maybe don't start with that. And that happens all the time. You'd be surprised. So maybe start with, okay, I've been thinking about this. This was on my mind. I'm traveling with my family. I know that you have a new family or whatever, the case may be. Like maybe show that you've done some homework so that, we can have a conversation and maybe showcase what you plan on covering. Because I think a lot of times we get these blind pitches like, I'm visiting and I'll need, 2 weeks here in a villa. Like, but what are you doing? Are you creating, what kind of content are you creating? Where is this going? Where might you pitch it? Where might we see the story at the end of the day after we do all this? So I think like doing that homework, and certainly check your spelling, because I also get a ton of pitches that that spell the destination wrong or that spell the property wrong. Right. And those things are immediate. That's going in the trash. So, being prepared and also coming at it like, let's build something together versus this is me, you should know who I am, and this is what I need from you.
Wonderful. And Dara, could you add to that too?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I echo everything that Gabriella said. It's important to know, I think looking at what you've done, if you're seasoned, if you are a little bit newer to the profession, maybe you have fewer followers, then you definitely need to come to me with something that is intriguing, what you want to talk about in Jamaica. If you're going there to explore culinary, for example, and you're really interested in, ITAL food, for example, and you want to do an article about that, well, maybe we can figure something out if you're, have a smaller reach. I think the way that you conduct yourself is really extremely important, and definitely knowing your place in the ecosystem, I think, is an important thing to know. But I guess it takes a lot of time and experience to sort of really gather that. So I think the more that you do these things, the better, the more sleeker you become.
Right. Yeah, I would say definitely by adding like a marketing cap if possible, and like you're all saying, understanding your position, but also where it is that you want to go in the future, right? So, so kind of touching on again, being contacted by creators, journalists, whatnot. What is the best way or more effective way, most effective way, is it that you like to be contacted for opportunities? So obviously people can look up your email, they can find you on LinkedIn, maybe you guys use a form. What are the actual just practical tools or methods that you not enjoy, but find more useful for these opportunities, for those that are starting out and just don't know? Maybe Tanya and Matt?
Yeah, so for us, we do have a form. So we have a form that we try to direct everybody to, whether that's through, we get requests that come through social and come through our Instagram a lot. We try to push and funnel everybody to the form so that the information that we're getting coming in follows the same sort of template. It makes it a pretty easy decision for me when we fill out the form and we ask for links to some previous stuff and people just skip through all of that. They're just like, these are the dates I'm looking for and this is what I want, and they sign it at the bottom. It's like, okay, we'll just file that under D for delete. So I think we use a form. We do get emails, and I'll get things directly, and depending on kind of who and what it is, I'll either sort of respond directly, or again just try to gently nudge them to the form so we can get all the information in the right way, so we can look at it the same way.
With that said, it's also important to really focus on the facts. Filtering through paragraphs and trying to disseminate some of the key facts. It just lengthens the process. So within that form, there are fields that you can fill in, but keeping it short, focusing on the facts, and we'll follow up.
So would you say when people are trying to reach out to you, that there is this form, but people are still using, whatever method works for them? So it could be a DM on Instagram, or again, like on LinkedIn. So would you say your process includes kind of like an auto sending out that whenever somebody contacts you on whatever platform it is?
Yeah, we've created a number of templates to help us, manage the influx. So, most of our stuff does come through Instagram. We get a lot of people who reach out to us that way. There's so many messaging platforms to try to stay on top of.
Exactly.
So we do try to just, kind of, push them that way. But, if we do get a reply of somebody who we're just like, ooh, and really, really exciting, then yeah, we're not going to make them jump through another particular hoop. We'll just pick up the conversation from there.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we'll touch on that in a bit. That's Thank you for that. Indira, how about for yourself?
Oh, I'm fine. If I'm on a platform and you contact me through that platform, I'll funnel you. I'll ask you to, shoot me an email at work, of course. But, if I'm on Instagram and someone wants to direct message me, or if it's WhatsApp, it's fine for me. LinkedIn, I wouldn't appreciate a phone call necessarily, but yeah, you can definitely reach out to me in any of the platforms that I'm on. If I'm on them, then I'm interested in them. So yeah, and I'll just put you back and funnel you to my work address, and that's fine with me.
Great.
I do want to say though, for Jamaica, we don't have a huge influx of requests, in the sense of it's a huge brand.
Well, here they come.
Pardon me?
I said, well, now here they come.
Huge brand. We really are only going to look at top tier, influencers or media, and the right fit.
Right. I'm sure that's very difficult to do, though, still, in terms of, the processing of that. Just to understand, I mean, I'm sure it's very popular. It actually surprises me that you don't get a lot.
Not a lot with like low, like really low. We're not going to talk to someone if they have 500 followers, and I don't tend to get those kinds of emails.
Okay.
It hasn't happened to me directly, but there are people that will reach out, and I'll always look you up. I'll always look to see what you've done, and make a decision based on that as to how I'm going to move forward.
Yeah. And in some cases, it may be that your destination is very popular, but people are going straight to the hotels that they want and then making that request too.
That could
That could be part of it too, because maybe the general public isn't so knowledgeable about a destination's efforts, behind the scenes to get people to come in and know how that works. Maybe Gabriella, if you could also lean into this.
Sure. Well, we definitely use forums because we have a lot of different destinations. So it's never just one product. So we have to keep track. Similar to what Matt said, if you're not filling in the form in its entirety and you can't produce 2 or 3 links to stories that you've placed in the last 6 months, then we don't have a record of who you are, And what we also like to do, we don't just look at metrics, we have to understand what the concept of the story is and the vision. So, we like to put a field in there of like, what are you thinking? Even if it's crazy, what were you thinking of covering? Who were you thinking of, in a freelancer's case, who were you going to pitch for this? And why is it a fit? So we kind of look at all of that. And also their level of professionalism is, a bunch of you brought up too. And also the non-entitlement sounding emails and the non-entitlement sounding responses are going to go to the top of the list. There are and I think it's a symptomatic thing at the moment. I mean, we get a lot, probably nobody on this call. I think you're all professionals, but there's a lot that aren't out there. And it's like this level of expectation, like, well, I demand this. And then also being a crybaby when you don't get what you want is not a good thing either, because if you're not a good fit for one press trip, you might be good for the next. And there's a lot that come back, well, I didn't get accepted, and this is ridiculous, and take me off your list. You shouldn't do that because, I have 80 destinations under my portfolio. So it's good for you, and maybe this is a fit. So always being gracious too. If it doesn't work out, graciousness and just, okay, let's keep in touch in the future is recommended.
Yeah. If I could kind of go back to you on this, just how did you initially push through to get to a place, right? Like when you first started, kind of push through and get to a place where you're being asked to join these FAMs. The feedback that we're getting is that, having a certain amount of links to stories that you've written is helpful. Having, coming with, obviously we talked about professionalism and whatnot, and using certain tools, whether it's LinkedIn, forums online. But how would you say your experience was in pushing through as an influencer and getting through to these kind of key people?
So I think it's multi-pronged. There is the email pitches that you can send, giving links to the work you've done. One of my advice is if you're starting out, start writing about the trips you've taken so you can develop your niche, start talking about stuff, and that way you're building your portfolio. So that's step number 1. When you do pitch with your media kit, you should be sending those links. But the other side of it's actually networking. So for me, in the early stages, Travel Massive was one of the few networking opportunities that brought together industry members with media. And it was networking, and we'd be having a drink and an idea would spark. And then we'd follow up because we had your business card and you built that relationship. Nowadays, there are other organizations. There are speed dating sessions where you get to chat with a destination partner and see if you're a fit, and then you follow up again. Similar, the emails will come because eventually you do need that paper trail, especially if you end up talking about press trips, you end up talking about contracts, whatever that happens. But it's those personal connections that I find most valuable. And also another way to get invited is actually industry members talk amongst themselves. So it is referrals. So someone will be like, oh my gosh, I saw this looked really fun. And if they're saying, oh, that person is no bueno on this trip, then you're not going to make it to the next press trip. So yeah.
Yeah, I would kind of echo what you're saying. For myself, I know that we're kind of leaning into the media side of things, but I personally work on the trade side. And, even being a part of the fabric of Travel Massive and just understanding the global reach. If you're not like a natural networker, which surprise, I'm not, you know, going to these kind of events and just trying to find those common threads, you know, with people too, and just, you know, liking content, sharing, being open, and just at the core of it, networking, no matter how you feel comfortable with it, networking is key, right? So I myself on the trade side, I go to a lot of trade shows, and I'm meeting a lot of people from hotels. I'm meeting a lot of folks on the destination side of things. And then they will introduce me to their colleagues, and I can pass them on to folks that I know at Travel Massive when we have one of our meetups, right? So yeah, I just wanted to kind of circle around that networking is very important. Yashi, could you describe a typical day on what you would experience on a FAM or press trip?
There is no typical day,
Okay.
because if it's done right,
Fair
it
enough.
is a unique trip, and you haven't done this before. So there's that. And again, I think I've done many different types of press trips. I obviously focus on family travel, so those tend to be more nuclear. It's me and my family. We have an itinerary that we worked with the partner, and we follow what we've decided. But then there are the group press trips, which tend to be a bit different. So that one, again, you still have an itinerary. When you get the itinerary, may be a bit different, but you have that itinerary and you turn up on time. I think that's the main, I don't know, pet peeve that I have, especially if it's a big group and you're supposed to start your day at 8 o'clock. Be there at 8 o'clock, start your day, and don't delay the rest of the trip, because one thing leads to another. But yeah, I would say there's no guaranteed. And the trip can be one day, it could be 11 days. I think 11 has been my longest press trip.
Oh, wow. Where was that to?
Yeah. Newfoundland and Labrador.
Oh, in Canada. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Wow, that's very interesting. So I would say then, or ask the others, what would a sample or example kind of FAM experience look like from your perspective? Gabriella?
Sure. Well, we're focused on experiences generally when we're trying to sell a destination or even like a DMC and what they can do. So they're going to be a lot of things that we say leave a footprint on somebody's soul. So it's a lot of local interactions, a lot of cultural immersions, cooking classes, food tastings, winery visits, things like that. Maybe a volunteer project, if there's particular need in a particular place. So trying to make sure that people are not just on a coach all day. Okay, this is this hotel, and even on my trade FAMs, I don't make them so heavy with site inspections. Like, it's great to know the product, but that's kind of your job to do that. On the other side, you can see things. How are you going to feel when you go here, and how are you going to make other people feel when you talk about it? And what did you learn? Who did you meet? For us, that's more important on a FAM than going, bus to bus to bus, meaningless dinner to meaningless dinner,
Right.
with no real story but in the back. So that's kind of how we construct them.
Yeah, that's great. That's where the good stuff is.
For the story.
Indira, how about yourself?
Well, if we put together a FAM, it will usually it's always based on a particular theme. So, for example, it might be luxury, or it might be, again, something for the diaspora, or it could be around a big festival like Subfest, for example. Katarina, we've sent to Jamaica to cover Subfest in the past, and it was amazing. She wrote a beautiful, beautiful piece on Quip. But what we'll do is we will put together an itinerary, and it's really important that you follow that itinerary because you're coming. We want to show you everything there is to know about that particular theme. And we want to get the biggest bang for our buck. Really, we do. So we want you to go to the restaurant, be there, listen to what they say to you about their establishment. They want that mirrored back in their coverage. They're usually, if they're, if you're going to visit a number of hotels or a number of different spas or whatever it is, you really need to be paying attention and taking in that information so that it mirrors back when your coverage comes out, basically, of that piece. That's very important. So a big part of it, because I've hosted media and influencers as well on trips, and being professional, of course, is really important. Showing up on time is really important. It can be really hard, these press trips, sometimes, to be, starting at 8 a.m. and then going to a beautiful hotel and touring that hotel, and it's very hot, and then you have to go to another hotel and you have to be just as happy and enthusiastic as you were, and then you have to be in the heat, and then you have to go to a lunch, which is beautiful and amazing, but you gotta keep it. You just gotta keep going and take it for what it is. Take those experiences and then reflect those experiences in what you're producing for us. That's what we love.
I think that's also the challenge is, a lot of people think FAMs are so glamorous, but it's work.
Are they?
Right? Can we all agree this is real work?
Yeah, it's funny because it's such a dichotomy, because you're hosting a fam trip and you are traveling. You've got to be on the ball. You've got to make sure all of your, whether they're press or all of your influencers, are okay. They're happy. They have what they need. Do they need a charger? They're gonna call me in the middle of the night and say, "Oh my God, I need to file my story and my computer crashed," or whatever. And you just got to be on top of all of those little things and kind of guide them through the trip. Make sure they're, on point.
Right. I think that's actually a good point to bring up too, because when somebody's pitching to you, to participate or to be a part of a FAM or a future one, there's a lot of design happening behind the scenes on that too, right? So especially if you're starting out new, just to have an appreciation of that. It's not, you're going to be sent an itinerary and you just have to kind of go through it. I mean, there are kind of self-guided ones, right? But just having an understanding of the impact that comes from folks like you. Maybe Matt and Tanya from Hotel X, you can kind of give an idea too of, what does a FAM look like at your property?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's funny. I mean, as the property or as the destination, a lot of the FAMs that we've participated in have been in conjunction with, the DMOs and the tourism boards. And I either catch everybody who's on this right at the beginning, when everyone's, depending on where they've come from, they're either fresh faced or pretty tired based off of where they're coming in. But usually it's at the start. And so, when I look and I see or I hear about what their itinerary is, I'm like, okay, it's you got a lot on your plate. And depending on when, we've usually got an opportunity to bolt in and do our thing. Usually for us, whether it's we've got a press trip, I've got a group, they're going to have breakfast, they'll have it at the hotel, and that's a natural time to kind of come in there and interject at that point and be able to speak a little bit about it, and then take them on a little bit of a tour. From my standpoint, I respect and I realize that they're gonna, if I'm at the beginning, they're gonna see X amount of hotels afterwards, although only one Hotel X. But yeah, they're going to see
shameless plug.
Shameless plug. They're going to see a bunch of different properties and a bunch of different things afterwards. So, I've got my little kind of, in my mind, some bullet points that I want to make sure, at the end of it, what are you going to remember? Because you're not going to remember that it's 60,000 square feet of meeting space or it's 404 rooms. I mean, you're not going to remember all the stats. But, much like Gabriella said, like the soul, like what are you going to be left with? and for us, it's, I really want you to make sure that you see the hotel as like an urban resort. And so, I'll make sure, and I'll hit you with the iconic views that we have, or the pool, because I know that will definitely stick with them. And some of those things will stick. So, I like to be cognizant of where am I catching them in the FAM? Is at the beginning, is in the middle, is at the end, and just making sure that whatever the particular FAM is, or the theme of it, that I'm gonna make sure that I leave you with a couple of things that are going to be, that tie into that. I can't just give you a diet, just verbal diarrhea of all of these stats. It's just, what are you left with, and what key messaging will you take with you?
So, sorry, go on.
Sorry, yeah, to Indira's point, sometimes there are some requests that are unanticipated. And so we do have to anticipate some needs before they may even happen. Dietary considerations, there's a number of factors. So good service as the host venue is always anticipating that some needs may come up, and having a plan B, plan C sometimes too.
Always.
Yeah, so Matt, you were just kind of touching on the fact that you may have some people a part of a FAM and they're also visiting other hotels. So this kind of opens up for hotels in particular. So sometimes you're being contacted by people directly, and then sometimes who else are you working with in order to have FAMs at your venue or hotel?
Well, whether it's, like if we work a lot with Destination Toronto or Destination Ontario, the different, destination marketing organizations, and they might have a bunch of groups in that are trying to particularly do a FAM for esports. And so, you'll have all of those people in, they need a place to stay. I'm always the first one to kind of say, hey, if it works for me, I'd rather get them in. It obviously depends on the market, but I'm always quick to jump on it, because regardless if they're staying here and it's a press trip for 2 to 3 nights, they're going to be here, and they're, it's great to get that head in bed, right? So, we're always, these opportunities come across the wire, and, like you mentioned before about networking, for us, it's with, networking with the different DMOs and the different people who are doing these types of things, and understanding, and I'm not naive. I know that a lot of these things, especially like it's to promote the greater, the destination, or the greater message. So, I'm what is it? High tides raise all ships, right? So it's good for us to be able to do these types of things, even if, we want to support our other properties and whatnot as well, because if we're all doing well, it's good for us all.
Yeah. Indira, so also touching, I guess this means that you would have a lot of communication, contact, and planning with hotels in destination as well, right?
Absolutely. Yep. We want to make sure that we're giving them a robust itinerary, but that we are communicating the essence of all the experiences correctly to the people that we're hosting. When you go, like one thing, when you're hosting a FAM trip, you're going to go from hotel to hotel, and you might pick up literature, for example, from one, or they might give you a mug, or they might, whatever it is. It's really one thing. You pay attention to the hotel or the experience that you're at, and like keep that material like in your purse or tuck it away when you go to the next hotel. Do you understand? I hope I'm being kind of clear about how I'm messaging this, but give each property and experience you attend your attention, and you don't really bring up or compare or speak negatively or about any other hotel. And you can speak positively, of course, about any experience in the right situation, but you just have to, be fresh and ready for each experience. Of course, we do know that there are examples where people don't feel well, people get sick. These things happen, of course. Like someone is overheated, they need to go now. Like I'll pay attention to all of those things, of course. But that's an important factor for, I think, when you're hosting.
Yeah, thank you for that. So what comes to mind too is understanding of timelines. So maybe Gabriella, if you can give some context to the type of lead times that you work with when it comes to FAMs.
Generally, it's pretty long because these things take a while to put together, and working with a lot of moving parts, it takes a long time for people to agree and get in sync. So we try to do the long game, with reaching out as soon as we have the itinerary to get the partners settled who are going to be able to come on the FAM, because we like to leave a lot of lead time for everything on the ground to get
Right.
buttoned up, and
Right.
things change in the itinerary and all of that. But we generally because we also need time to do our homework. When we put out like a call for a FAM or expression of interest, we generally get like hundreds of people,
Wow.
who are vying for 6 to 10 slots. And so we have to know exactly
That's the realities.
we need time, and it's not a snap decision. And just, I think that what Indira said is really important. I just want to echo that too. People put a lot of time into creating these things, and even the smallest of hotels, the smallest, hoteliers, they're so looking forward to having you there. And there's nothing worse than whenever, it's like you said, okay, life happens, you get tired, you get hot, you're whatever, but always show them your best, and just be gracious, because to them, it's everything that they got asked to be on this itinerary, that they're part of it, and that they have an opportunity, because they don't, even the smaller hotels, they don't get a lot of chances sometimes, on these things. So it means everything to them when you show up and you're fresh faced, even if you're off schedule and you get there at 7 at night and you were supposed to be there at 2 and everything got screwed up. Just please smile and shake their hand, just show interest, because it's really, really, it means a lot to them.
Right. So Yashi, I want to know from your perspective, what would you say? Now, granted, we just kind of touched on FAMs. They can span a short, a few days, a couple hours, to quite some time. What would you say on average, if you could, what is the average time that you're given advance notice that you are confirmed and you're going on your FAM? I know this could be controversial, right?
Yeah. So the reality is, like right now, I am booking trips into winter 2025.
Wow.
So that's just my calendar. That's the way it works. But I also just accepted a trip to go in November somewhere. So, and if we're talking local, I just accepted this morning to do something this weekend. So that really depends. And I think one thing you also have to know is sometimes, no matter how far in advance you're booking these trips, things happen. Maybe a journalist needs to step away from something that's happening. And then if you're next on the list,
Right.
If you're open, you might be invited, right?
Right.
So just like, an itinerary, personally, I don't like itineraries looking the same. I want unique experiences. I want new restaurants that cater to my audience's needs. So no press trip will be the same either.
So flexibility is the name of your game.
Flexibility and also planning ahead. I mean,
Right.
right now, if somebody really wants me to come to their destination and there is an event or a culinary festival, they will reach out to me earlier to ensure that my calendar is held for that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we've touched on a lot of to-dos. I would like to, maybe if each of you can name one, or a couple if you choose, kind of common mistakes that are made on FAMs. So whether, we've kind of touched on professionalism being important, but maybe each of you can kind of just point out something that, like a key thing that you would communicate is very important to doing work with you. Indira?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so
common mistakes that are made on
Yeah.
FAMs.
of course, common mistakes. I mean, it can happen to anyone. But I would say requesting something that isn't offered, that's on the itinerary, for free. If you're gonna get a spa experience and you're on a luxury trip, you're gonna get a massage. If you're not, and it's not on the schedule, then do it on your off time and pay for one. And those kinds of things happen all the time, but these experiences that we offer in Jamaica, they are, one of a kind, amazing experiences that, actually, sorry, I've lost my train of
Oh,
thought.
it's okay. It's okay. Maybe
Yeah,
we can.
yeah. So no, you're not gonna. A common mistake would be to ask for something that you've not been offered, or ask for things for free of charge. If they're gonna give it to you, they're gonna give it to you. You're gonna know. So I would say that messing up on your itinerary, not showing.
Oh, having stable connection. Maybe Matt, Tanya, if you could
Sure.
tell us what comes to mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, Indira was going along that track for us as far as, the requests that come in. If we're focusing on one particular person and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, can my spouse get it as well? Or, my
Okay,
spouse
yeah.
or significant other, it's like, no, are they a journalist? Or are they that like, no, so yeah, I think making sure that the expectation or that the ask is indicative of that, and kind of falls in line. I mean, I've seen, some of the things too, where the requests are, again, just sort of out of whack. Asking for a 7-night stay fully comp for, one story or something. It's like, okay, Kim Kardashian, like, I'm not too sure, where the gap is there. But, and, for us too, like if we look at, not to get too specific, but, we always look at, for us, what's really important is high quality content. That's what's really important for us. If what your request is, and that if I go and it's, everything that I see on your feed is 75% just your face or just about you, 9 times out of 10, we're just going to move along. Right. So, for us, the content, we understand that the content needs to be authentic for the content creator,
Mhm.
and but it also needs to showcase this for us, the space, or it needs to speak to the brand. And that it's not just solely a numbers game, right?
Right.
We look at engagement, we look at their posts, we look at their audience. Does their audience align, right? So we get a lot of, I would say, your sort of classic influencers, or a lot of fashion or beauty influencers, which for the hotel, they think that followers or they think that their followers is everything.
Yeah.
And it's really not. I mean, some of the most successful hosted experiences that we have had in the past are with content creators with much smaller followings.
Right.
However, but they've created just such beautiful images.
Yeah.
And that user generated content for us is gold. I mean, sure, we do our own photo shoots and we do our own, but anytime you get a really great image and whatnot that is created, that's used from time to time again, it's wonderful. And like I said, some of the best ones we've had have been ones that have like maybe 2,500 followers, right? And we took a little bit of a gamble by doing it, but I'm getting 20, 30 images that are all just fantastic. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you can come back anytime you want, right?
Thanks.
So, yeah.
Also, to touch on something Matt said, understand the brand, especially as a host venue. We're part of the Library Club Collection, and our tagline is the kindest hoteliers. So lead with kindness.
Mhm.
It's in the name.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's,
Right?
yeah.
Super important.
That's a really good point, actually. Homework. Do your homework.
Yeah.
Gabriella, if you could kind of round out that, what would you say are common mistakes you've seen?
Generally, the asking for for things like my peers on the screen said, the asking for the impossible when the itinerary is pretty much very, very good and jam packed with some incredible things. We get a lot of people. But can I just do this? But can I bring my 4 kids and they won't be a problem? And about those kind of things. The trip is the trip is the trip, and that's the best way I can say it. You get your itinerary, you're going to have it well in advance, you're going to be prepared, and then I think the ability to go with the flow. And, when people can't, that's when we have issues. Like we just had a big fam in Vanuatu, and it's a remote destination. Things went flawlessly until an airline made a mistake with a booking, and we had to charter a very, very, very tiny plane. And some people were okay with that, some people not. We had to reshuffle, and it was fine. But being able, sometimes those are the best stories. So being able to see the opportunity in things that go wrong that aren't necessarily the people's fault. And then the final thing I would say on that, and this just happens, it's human nature, but if something goes wrong, it's great to bond if you're in a group. We love when we see two people bond, but if things go wrong, never start this is wrong, it spreads
like a virus. Yeah.
And it creates such a division in the group when you all should be harmonious. Yes, things may happen, like the example I just put, things could, but that's part of it. So like I always say, never pitch against your own team. A good friend gave me advice a long time ago. So just be one with the group, flow, tell me or tell the host on site privately, look, I think this could have been done differently or better. That is fine. I think we're always open to that. Totally fine. But to start the revolution in the group, when thing goes a little bit awry, it's travel. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Good point.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Thank you all. I'm sure a lot of those, tips and whatnot are going to help people that are watching that are maybe a bit more junior and just want to either know or be reminded for some of those of just conduct. And again, as we've been saying, the theme, professionalism, right? So that's all the questions that I have for you. We do have some questions that came in online through our platform. So I'm just going to look now. So Catherine Anderson had asked, so I'm just reading this straight from the message. I'm curious to learn if budgets are focusing more on working with traditional media or influencers, and what the ratio is looking like ahead for the next year. So what would you say, Yashi, let's say, I know that you're not on the industry side, but maybe just from your perspective, or, you're part of different organizations and whatnot. What are you seeing for a trend moving into next year?
My traditional media friends are also just as booked up as, I am, some even more. But I do notice that there are brands that I've had conversations with for years who may not have had budgets to work with paid content creators such as myself, but they're the ones booking me now this year ahead of time because they want to lock in my rates for this year before, inflation figures in and things like that.
Right.
But so I think brands are aware of the changing landscape. They are aware that some people, this is how, the website, my website is the ad space. That's how they think of it as, but they get a personal story at the same time. So I think each brand's different and they know who they want to target.
Thanks. Yeah. So Indira, same thing. What is your focus, would you say, for 2025?
Both. So it really, it's absolutely a mix of both. So it really depends on what it is that we're looking to showcase and what we're looking to feature. So for example, we might want to do an influencer trip for a music festival. I do want to say that we keep them separate. Usually, like traditional.
Okay,
yeah, they're
that's a good point.
Things than influencers as social are looking for. So it can be tough when you have both on the same trip when you're working in an itinerary, because what content creators are looking for are stopping, taking pictures. They get the right angle, while traditional media is, I have my information now, I'm ready to keep it moving. So that's one thing, but we look for both, and we want to fit the right person with the right experience. So I will definitely work with a smaller influencer if we see that they understand and they're really passionate about a specific subject. We'll work with major music writers if they want to go and talk about Bob Marley and talk about their experiences at the G Jam Hotel and which famous recording artists recorded there, whatever it is, for the Globe and Mail. We like a balance of both. And sometimes from the destination point of view, like we're not we are hosting FAMS Jamaica from all people all over the world. So, you know, sometimes we won't be able to send someone from Canada for a specific experience. If the US might do it, they get that opportunity, or maybe it's in England. So we're just a big destination. People come from all over the world, and so we work with what we have and what's going on, and flexibility is really important.
Great. I'm just going to ask Matt and Tanya. So just to kind of add to that, somebody, Rachel Heller asked, do you ever consider bloggers? So specifically, so we're just talking about traditional media and then also content creators, if you can just kind of, you know, or influencers rather. Blogger seems to be like an older, can I say like an older term? And like now it's content creators. Now it's people are moving from the blog platforms onto different platforms. I don't know. So Yashi, like,
Yeah.
I see you.
So I think a lot of us have rebranded to using the term content creator because we're still, most of us, I mean, most of my friends, we still have our blogs, and that's really the moneymaker for us. But also we know we need to be active in social media. So we're now using the term content creator because it's blogging, it's writing, it's making videos, it's editing those videos, it's selling some images to destinations and hotels. So it's all encompassing. But I would say the blog is what draws destinations towards me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to add, like, you know, would we consider a blogger? I think it depends on the blogger. It depends on the blog, right? So, you know, I mean, if it is an older term, but, you know, in the more traditional sense, if you've got a blog that is really well, that has some staying power and has some good search engine optimization towards it, then you know, if it's keying towards something that we're looking towards, and you're going to offer me a link that does not have a no follow link on it, then great. You know, absolutely. You know, that's something that we would consider, right? So, you know, what I look for when I see those bloggers too is how active is it. You know, it's a bit of a turnoff for me when I see, oh, I've got somebody is a blogger, and I look, and then their most recent post was from like 2018. It's like, you know, like, are you really a blogger? Or, you know, is this a very much a part-time thing for you, right? So, you know, that's kind of what we look at. So, you know, do we consider them? Absolutely, but it's really on a case-by-case basis.
Right. Thanks. Ariane Colin-Brander, sorry, she asked, one thing I'm curious about is how PR firms can organize a long distance trip of just a few short days. Jet lag is real. Gabriella, maybe you can just give some quick context to those destinations that you have hosted FAMs where you have to account for time difference.
Yeah, we do a lot of long haul. I mean, we generally create the itinerary. And like I just said before, the trip is the trip, right? So this is the itinerary. I think we are always able to help try to, you know, to work with you on pre and post. If you want to come in a day early, if you want to stay a day late, whatever it is, you know, but within reason, you know, and some of that will be, you know, at your cost if you do want to stay in a couple of different ways. So that's how we address it. We give you options. We try to negotiate the best option possible for you if you do need to come in a few days early and relax, because everyone is different. But it depends on the destination. I mean, some places are going to be super, super heavy. Some places like Portugal, where lunch is an event. So lunch has to be 3 hours, you know, so don't worry about it. The schedule is not going to be too crazy, you know, like it depends. And if the trip isn't for you, you'll know that, you know, you'll have the itinerary. And if you're looking at it and just say, wow, this is just not, then it's not the right trip for you. You know, if you feel like it's going to be a little bit out of your scope, energy wise, because everybody's very different and people have different health conditions and where you want, you know, whatever could be. But we always give enough information that you know your own body better than we do. So we do give you options to come in earlier and stay later. But generally that would not be something that would be offered and included. If you wanted to do that on your own, we'll do the best to help you.
Yeah, thank you. So we're pretty much nearing the end. I just have one more question. I'm going to send this to Indira. This is just that there's a lot of conversation on the chat right now happening around, where is it that you like your content creators, your bloggers, your media folks to come from, geographically speaking? So obviously you are representing Canada, so you're going to be in touch with a lot of Canadians, but if you could kind of look at it at a global scale for your destination, where do you like to pull folks from?
I'm focused on Canada. So that with Jamaica Tourist Board, we'll have representation all over the world. So for me, it's Canadian based, and we'll work with you if you're in Calgary, if you're in Nunavut, if you're in Toronto. We'll send you to Jamaica. That's fine. I don't have to worry as much in terms of geography, in terms of long jet lag or anything like that. Jamaica's, I think it's an hour behind our time. It's that's EST actually, but that's not a huge deal for us. And we'll usually host, we usually do 4 nights, 5 days, is kind of typical for us. But anyone from Canada is, that's the first qualifier for JTB Canada anyways. Yeah. But if you're interested and you're living, in the US, you want to contact JTB, the US branch, or if you're in Europe, you contact them. So yeah.
Thank you. So this is the conclusion of the Q&A for now. I'd like to obviously thank you guys, but quickly, I just want to remind everybody who is watching to stay on the travelmassive.com site after we've concluded. And I encourage you to update your profile. At the core of everything, the community that we have here with Travel Massive is best served when you can be found and the information is rich so that people can find you easily and we can all continue these conversations. Again, Katerina's behind the scenes. We will choose a winner for the Guelph FAM that we have going, that Travel Massive is hosting in October. That's another reason, again, to have your profile updated. If we can't find any information about you, it's hard to go on these opportunities. And for those who have left messages in the comment section, we'll do our best to respond to you. I want to thank our panelists, Yashi, Indira, Gabriella, Tanya, Matthew. Thank you so much. We're grateful that you spent your hour with us. Behind the scenes, again, chat moderating has been Katerina, who's our chapter leader of Toronto Travel Massive, Maria, our grand wizard as well. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day and many future FAMs in the future. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so
Thank you.